This is the value of wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
Let's see if that makes us live. Are we live, ladies and gentlemen? We are live. We are here. We're waiting to see. Can you hear me now? Welcome to the Value of Wrestling. Welcome to our Crown Jewel review. Hopefully, we are being heard. If you're out there, let us know if you can hear me and everything is sounding good. All right. There we go. We are live. We are here. We are doing what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one. I'm the only. I'm the big time. Yeah, you know who I am. And of course, sitting across from me today is the one, the only. All right. We are here with your Crown Jewel review for 2023. Crown Jewel, another wonderful pay-per-view in the books, all set and ready to go. Yes, so we are in the books. We are here, and we are going to talk about everything. We are going to discuss it. What a interesting show. Some highs, some goods. I would say it was a decent show. Not one of your better pay-per-views for the year, but I think we got some good stuff, and we got some stuff out there that was definitely interesting. Thank you for joining us in the chat, and thank you for letting us know that you can hear us. We appreciate you for being here. And for everybody who's here, make sure you hit that like button. Let's get those likes up today, and let's get started hot. We started off the Crown Jewel Kickoff show. We had Sami Zayn versus JD McDonagh. A really good match between these two, what you would expect. Nothing particularly over the top here. Sami Zayn hit the Helluva kick and into a Blue Thunder Bomb for a 1-2-3. The match lasted 9 minutes, 46 seconds. And it is what you expect. Sami Zayn went over. It was the safe bet. JD McDonagh takes another L in his efforts to try to be something for the Judgment Day. But it was your kickoff show. It was a good match. It was what you get. It's a solid match. Sami Zayn goes over. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts on the pre-show match there?
I kind of have to look around because, I didn't catch the pre-show at all. I was doing other things at the time, getting ready for the main card show. I kind of went back and looked at, basically, how did Sami win, that kind of thing, while the main show was on, during parts that I didn't care about. So I went back and, fast forwarded through the kickoff show a little bit.
Good opening match.
Like you said, it's what you expected, and that's fine. That it is what it was.
Exactly. So then we get in the Crown Jewel. Of course, they told us the opening match would be the World Heavyweight Championship match. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. And boy, did we get a match. We got a great story in this match. We had the story going in with Rollins and his bad back. You had the story going in with Drew McIntyre. He won the title the first time, but it was in an empty arena during the pandemic. The pandemic derailed his plans. This is his time. And so we get a great back and forth match. This was up and downs. This was definitely a great excitement. You didn't know who was going to win this match. They told a beautiful story. McIntyre giving everything he has. Seth Rollins trying to maintain and make it to the end. So anyway, McIntyre goes and misses for a Claymore, but Rollins ducks that, hits the pedigree, and follows up with a stomp. Finally gets a 1, 2, 3. We had an 18-minute, 28-second match. Beautiful match. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre brought it. Probably one of the best matches, probably the best match of the night. But I mean, they delivered what they needed to deliver. It was a good, solid match. It's what you expect. Of course, after the match, Drew McIntyre continued to kind of feel like his sulking self. There was tidbits of possibly something heelish coming out of there, and then we saw him later with Rhea Ripley's kind of staring him down. In the aftermath of this loss, kind of like, yeah, you should have asked us for help, but it'll definitely be interesting what the future holds for Drew McIntyre going forward. This was a good, solid match. Everybody delivered, and we got through a really good, solid match. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts on this opening match?
I had a little bit. I mean, okay, so the match itself was great. It's just towards the end. I don't know. Maybe it's because the size difference between Seth and Drew. The pedigrees and the stomps just looked a little weaker to me than usual. And I don't know if that's on Drew for not selling it quite right, or I'm not really sure what it was, to be honest. But it was more or less the ending we expected. We want to see, obviously where this goes from this point. Just, I don't know. Because most of the match, fantastic. They both brought it, and I agree with you there. Just a little. I don't know. I think it might just be the size difference, especially with the first pedigree. This looks a little weak to me.
The first pedigree or the last pedigree?
First.
Well, the last pedigree was the one he finished with, so.
True.
So, the big part of the night, of course, was after the match, Damian Priest comes running down with the money in the briefcase. He looks like he's going to cash in, and somebody dressed in a black hood jumps out, grabs the briefcase, and run out, and we find out it's Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn takes off with the briefcase. So the question becomes, who is the owner of the briefcase? Is it still Mr. Senor Money in the Bank, which he was referred to later tonight, or is Sami Zayn the holder of the briefcase? We have an interesting scenario as Sami Zayn took off into, supposedly, I would assume, the Saudi desert with the money in the briefcase, never to be seen again for the night. So we will have to find out what is that going to mean and what is that going to lead into. From there, we got the Fatal Five-Way match for the Women's World Championship match. You had Raquel Rodriguez, Zoey Stark, Shayna Baszler, the one that will not be named, and Rhea Ripley all in a match. It was a good match for what it was. It wasn't the best match. It was what it did. There was one point where Shayna Baszler had, I think, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, and who was it? Zoey Starks all tied up in submission maneuvers at the same time. Oh, no, it was Nia Jax. Oh, damn it, I said her name. Anyways, she had them all tied up in some type of submission maneuver. Oh, she had the choke on the one that won't be named, and the other two tied up. So she had like 3 people to submission maneuver before Zoey Starks came in and got in there. Rhea Ripley eventually won by dropping everybody, pretty much. I think she had Raquel Rodriguez and dropped her on top of Baszler. She hit the Riptide on Zoey Starks.
So she had Zoey Starks in her arms when who was pinning who? Shayna was on the bottom.
Yeah, Shayna was. Raquel Rodriguez was on top of Baszler going for a pin, but Rhea hit from the rope a super, what they're calling a super Riptide with Zoey Starks to land on top of Shayna Baszler.
That's fair.
And they got the pin. Okay. Well, I'm sorry you felt that it was boring. I thought it was a decent show. It wasn't all great, but this match was what it was. I think the expectations, it wasn't going to be that great of a match. It was going to be 5 women bouncing around off and on there. But in the NCO, Rhea Ripley gets the win. And there's not a whole lot to say. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I mean, personally, I thought it was a great match. I mean, it's like you knew it was going to be very chaotic because you're dealing with 5 people. But each woman got a little bit of a showcase on top of just like the overall match. And I enjoyed it thoroughly, to be honest. And then with Rhea coming out as the victor, I was like, okay, cheers to you.
Yeah. And that's what happens on this show is, okay, you were talking about the women's match. I tend to agree with you. I don't think it was a very good, at least for people in our chat, I don't think it was a very good match. And everybody has their opinion, and this is where we all get along. It was a match. I don't think it was that great. Everybody got a little something in there, yes, but it was just kind of it was a slow, tedious match that, didn't serve much purpose. Shayna Baszler taking the L here kind of was a letdown. I think the one that should have been named could probably have taken it and not been hurt by it. Continued storyline, or maybe it's Zoey Stark, Shayna Baszler, who I'd like to see get made into something, taking another L, kind of disappointing. But middle of the road, nothing special match. Not one of my favorites.
So basically what you're saying is you didn't like the match. I did. And so somewhere, someone's singing, why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Well, we're getting along fine. This is how it works. You think one thing, I think a different thing. It don't matter. I mean, we've been there before. It doesn't mean we can't be friends and agree to disagree. So this is life. Of course, I know in this new age, if two people don't agree, then they can't be friends. That's just, blasphemy, I guess, So I don't know what we're going to do in this new day and age. We'll just have to go back old school and find the old DX ways of doing it and just tell everybody we got 2 words for you. Anyways, we had the...
Yes, it is.
Anyways, next up was John Cena versus Solo Sikoa, which was a pretty good match. Back and forth, Solo Sikoa is showing his dominance over Cena. Cena fighting from underneath. Cena kind of playing that babyface superhero, just getting beat by Solo Sikoa and kept trying to come back. Now, in the end here, they scared me a little bit because Cena came charging at Sikoa, and Sikoa did like a diving Samoan spike, then hit another Samoan spike, and then hit a normal Samoan spike, then hit another Samoan spike, and then by the time he was done, it was like 10 Samoan spikes. But when they hit those first 2 and he wasn't pinning Cena, I'm like, are they gonna have Cena out of this and come back or what? But for a moment there, it was like, oh my gosh, because normally he hits the Samoan spike and it's a 1, 2, 3. He hit a second one. I'm like, okay, now it should be, and then he didn't, and I'm like, it's just like setting up for Cena to make this massive comeback. I mean, eventually we saw what the thing was. It was a Samoan spike beatdown. I mean, it was bad. So it's pretty much the send off for Cena. Cena got his, got his, his moment after the match. Everybody cheered for him, and it was a good moment there for Cena. But Cena falls at 16 minutes 4 seconds to half a dozen, if not more, or a dozen, I should say, Samoan spikes. And Solo Sikoa wins, and we get the right winner in here. Had a good match, but they did scare me just a hair of there because I was like, wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, and John Cena's still getting up. I'm like, wait, are they going to do something here? Mr. Clarke, your thoughts?
I don't really know what I can add to that. Although, like you said, the right person went over, so to me, that's actually the most important part. I don't understand why it took a dozen Samoan spikes, but hey. The fact that Solo goes over, to me, is the most important part. So we can continue to see where his career is going to go on top with and without the bloodline.
No, and I think it's really good. I think that the multiple spikes was just supposed to be the beatdown. It was just like beating. It takes John Cena off of TV. I think that's what the story we're going to get. We're not going to see John Cena after tonight for a while, if ever. And it was a beatdown by Solo Sikoa, making Solo Sikoa look super strong, super over, and almost a threat to even Roman Reigns. So maybe there'll be some cracks in that foundation now that Solo Sikoa has beaten John Cena. Does he not kind of make himself a title contender in all this? Could this be a leading story into what's coming? Well, because, I mean, the story is that the bloodline has a fracture. For anybody to beat the bloodline, you have to have Roman alone, basically. So you have to have Roman not have his allies. At least this is assuming what I would say is Roman's going to go into WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes. Cody will either win the Royal Rumble or he'll win the Elimination Chamber or whatever the setup may be. But I believe the whole other story leading up to that is the whole collapse of the Roman Empire, that finally the other aspects of the bloodline won't be there to save Roman. And Roman one-on-one against Cody can't win, and you get that moment. Cody gets the big win. He gets the title. We get this victory. We see the bloodline collapse. Roman can go away for a little while, and you can either have a new bloodline led by some other members that are out there, or we could end the bloodline story. But my whole purpose would be there's got to be a friction between Roman and Sikoa that splits them apart. So I
just don't think this particular match makes him a contender. Now, can they tell that story and get to that point? Now, you could also make it where Roman starts feeling a little suspicious if Solo starts showing some aspects of, I mean, he's got a tailbone, not a tailbone, I'm looking for.
I have no clue.
I think the point being, though, is that Solo
beats Cena, so my point is it does
put... the word I was looking for. He does have a backbone, obviously. But again, Solo does off of this one match does not make him a contender, but it might make Roman suspicious because he's climbing the ladder.
But he viciously beat Cena, so I think it puts him into the picture at least of the main event of possibly being somebody that deserves a title shot against Roman. I mean, I think you can write that story. I'm not saying tomorrow he can come out on TV. Of course, they could write that story, but I'm not saying he could come out on Monday or next Friday and be like, oh, you're the number one contender. But I mean, now that he's definitively on his own, beat Cena, and Cena being represented as the greatest of all time multiple times. We've been told this story. So, I mean, he's beat the greatest of all time. So, I mean, that's kind of where I see that.
That's true. There was no Jimmy. There was no Paul Heyman out with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also what, like I said, climbing that ladder.
Yeah. No, I think it sets him in a place where at least you could say, well, Solo beat John Cena by himself with no help. He would definitely be looked at as possible a contender if you're looking at the next contender for Roman Reigns. To at least start that story and put suspicion in Roman's mind and give that rub to Solo that maybe it's his time to have that title. Because there's got to be something that triggers this fallout between the remaining members of the bloodline. Jimmy is just a loose cannon of the whole group, so who knows how that'll all play. Anyways, moving along, we had the Miz TV with the super movie comedian everything guy from Saudi Arabia there, Ibrahim Al-Hajji. Ibrahim Al-Hajji, I think. I don't know. Please forgive me if I haven't pronounced that name right. I'm not an expert in that. So he was on Miz TV, and in the middle of Miz TV, Grayson Waller came down and goes, no, Miz TV is 2005. It's time for the Grayson Waller effect. They started switching out the thing, and then Al-Hajji says, no, he's here for Miz TV. Miz starts throwing the stuff out. They have a moment. The Miz takes down Waller, and then Hajiji does his own people's elbow type of thing on Waller. Waller taking an L in this brief thing. It was a good little TV segment. It had to be a local thing for the rest of us. We were here. Anybody else watching that doesn't know who this guy is, what is going on. It was probably a totally lost moment in TV for everybody because it was like, I mean, I didn't know who this guy was or, what to do with it. It was kind of a lost segment because, to us, we don't know who this person is. So I'm sure if you're from the local area, you know who this guy is. It definitely felt like the crowd made him definitely feel over. They were definitely behind him, so that helped. But I mean, it was more of a local thing than anything. So it's hard to even say what anything had, except you had the Miz and Grayson Waller. Maybe this leads to them feuding, even though it looked like Gunther and Miz are going to have issues in the future. So we'll have to see. But interesting moment here. You don't have anything to add necessarily, do you? Yeah.
Nope. I literally fell asleep for a few minutes right after the Cena Solo match. I missed that whole segment, and I kind of woke up during the Rey Logan Paul match.
So from there, we got the United States Championship match: Rey Mysterio defending his title against Logan Paul, and we got what you expected between a Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul match. A really, really good match. This was up there definitely. In levels of the Seth Rollins Drew McIntyre match. I mean, these guys went back and forth, pulled out everything. We saw everything. Eventually, Paul's entourage guy came out of somewhere, crawling on the on the floor, and handed Logan Paul some brass knucks. Paul had the knucks, but then Rey tripped him into the turnbuckle. He lost the knucks over into the outside the ring there. And then he went to go, or his little entourage guy went to crawl over there, and then Escobar jumped up over the barrier there and stood on the knucks. Then picked him up and walked over to the ring and kind of stared the guy down, and the guy took off. And so then Escobar went to chase him, but before Escobar went to chase him, and hey, when you have a cat, you never know when they're going to appear. But when Escobar went to chase him, Escobar set the knucks down on the ring, and Rey knocked Paul back into the ropes. Paul realized that the knucks were there. Rey hit a 619, sort of as he was hitting the 619. Paul hit him with the brass knucks, leading to a 3 count, and your winner and new United States Heavyweight Champion at 16 minutes 13 seconds, And I agree, this was probably a 4.5 star or 4 1/4, 4.5 star match. It was a good 4-star match. But you have a new United States champion in Logan Paul, and the cat came back the very next scene. Anywho, Logan Paul, your new United States champion. We talked about the possibility this could happen depending on what they're going to do with Logan Paul going forward. I thought they had a different story for Rey Mysterio. Still looks like we're going to get the Rey story, but it may be different. Santos Escobar setting the brass knucks on the ring apron kind of with intent, it seemed like, because it just kind of seemed like he set him there and then chased the guy. I'm like, why wouldn't you carry him instead of setting them back out there? Definitely sets a storyline for questions to be asked. Is this the beginning of Santos Escobar's heel turn, or is this going to lead to Rey Mysterio not trusting Santos like you set me up? Is this going to be a way that you could turn Rey heel? Necessarily just because of a quote-unquote, what we can say probably right now would be the story, a dumb mistake, could fall either way. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts on this match?
It really makes you question, was it a dumb mistake or was it intentional still? Like, obviously we won't know until the story progresses, but it's just like, why would you put it on the ring to begin with? Well, I mean, that's, from a logical storytelling perspective.
Yeah.
And I guess you have to do things just to progress the story. The match was good. Everything you expected from Logan and Rey Mysterio. I kind of like the fact that Logan Paul can say he's a WWE champion now.
Yes.
How the bragging he can do. I'm just waiting for this, coming home for whenever he's on WWE TV again.
Yep.
So now it's just about the progression, I guess.
No, it'll definitely be interesting how this plays out now that Logan Paul is U.S. champion, whether the direction they're going to take that in. It's definitely going to be interesting. Could this lead to Ricochet beating him for the title in a rebound match? Who else has Logan Paul got ahead of him for this U.S. title? But this is definitely going to give us a good time with Logan Paul. Probably going to see a little more of Logan Paul as U.S. champion. Who knows if he's going to be doing anything at Survivor Series. So it's going to be interesting how that all plays out going forward. I see we have several viewers in here. We thank you all for being here. Make sure you like this video while you're here. We want to get that like up. Every like gets us out there. If you are here, please share this out to anybody you know that likes wrestling, enjoys wrestling, or talks about wrestling. Let's share this out to friends, family, and all the wrestling community while we're here. But moving on into one of the highlights of the night, at least towards the end of this match, it was good to see that some storylines or some of the rumors that were out there murmuring did come true. We got to see Io Sky defend her WWE Women's Championship against Bianca Belair. And it was a decent match. I don't know if it was really that great of a match. It just kind of, it seemed in a slower pace. It was a good, basic match between these two, but it just didn't feel to gel real well. There wasn't really a good story in any of this. Of course, Bayley eventually made her way down, tried to cause interference. Bayley then got taken out, or got taken out sort of by Bianca Belair. Belair looked like she was going to put Bayley back through a table with the KOD, when out of nowhere, Kairi Sane makes her WWE return. Kairi Sane jumps over, pulls Bayley off, attacks Bianca Belair, throws Bianca Belair back into the ring. Or no, she leaves Bianca Belair out there. What is it? Yeah, she gets back. She beats Bianca Belair, leaves her there for a 9 count, and Belair just manages to get back in the ring. He's kind of laying there as Io Sky goes up, hits an immediate moonsault, gets the 1, 2, 3. And during this whole time, Sky hadn't known until after the match when she turned around and saw Kairi Sane stand there, that Kairi Sane was even there. And then after the match, they had this celebration moment between Kairi Sane and Io Sky. It was awesome. Kairi Sane looking awesome and amazing. Can't wait to see. She dropped that, her big elbow drop too. But Io Sky went at 16 minutes, 33 seconds. It was a mid-card, 3 stars, 2 to 3 star match for me. Between it, the rest of the stuff was a little better. Seeing Kairi Sane show up in the way she got involved, and then definitely seeing Bayley's face at the end of this match, where she looked very shocked. And of course, the good thing that Michael Cole and WWE do with a lot of this is they gave us some background, like, oh yeah, the last time we saw Kairi Sane, it was Bayley taking her out and kicking her out of WWE or NXT or wherever it was. So it was good that we got some reason that maybe Bayley's not too happy to see a Kairi Sane in the ring. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts on this match?
Okay, a couple of questions. So is your star rating based on Dave Meltzer's star rating, or is this the big time star rating?
Well, the report I'm reading, they gave it 3 stars. I'm kind of in that same field of just 3 to 2 stars. But mine's my own personal star review. So I mean, that's everybody has their own view. I don't agree with necessarily anybody.
How many stars?
Well, 5 stars, I guess.
Okay. The glamour of this match obviously isn't so much the match itself, but the story told. Obviously, with Kairi Sane coming back, and just how do I want to phrase this?
Don't say anything you
don't
want
want to. Kairi Sane and Io Sky doing what they had to do.
Yeah.
To keep, almost said Bailey. Excuse me, to keep Bianca down.
Yeah.
That is the most politically correct way I can put this without going over the top.
It was great. The ending, like I said, the match itself wasn't too great. Io Sky and Bianca, but they just didn't seem to blend real well. It was just kind of a real nah. There was good wrestling, but it wasn't the greatest. It was more the ending of how Bailey came to interfere, but now we have a whole nother dynamic to this. Where does Kairi Sane stand? Is she going to be a part of Damage Control, or is she just doing something with her friend Io Sky? Is this going to pull Io Sky away from Damage Control? Bailey's face after the end of this. And the good thing, Bianca Belair not winning the title, hopefully this can move her on to a whole different direction. But it's going to be interesting how the story tells. But the match to me was basic. There wasn't anything high. It was more of the ending that made it, get exciting and everything. Welcome to the party, Miguel. Yes, Uncle Dave. Yeah, he gives 6 things. Uncle Dave will change his star ratings to fit his personal needs, but we won't get into that. Is there anything else you want to add to this match before we move on?
Keep on rolling, baby.
All right. Make sure if you're in here that you're hitting that like button. Every like helps us out, makes you share this out. And if you have anything you want to say, drop it right there in the comments.
Drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, because we definitely read into our comments. Except when a fool comes in here and talks about 6 stars and Dave Meltzer.
Borderline.
Close. Let me see. Should I get the button ready? Should I get the button ready for you, Miguel? Let me know. Anyways, we moved on to probably one of the best match in the night too. Oh, I forgot this match was here. This is a highlight. They kind of had good match. We got Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. This was a solid match. You had everything. You had Cody Rhodes taking finishers. You had him coming back from underneath, getting beat down. We had a beautiful, off the top rope or flying in the air, south of heaven. I mean, they tried to do everything whichever way. We had a Cody cutter from the tippity top rope. It was just it was a good, solid match. Eventually, we had Finn Balor try to come down and interfere. And then Dominic Mysterio tried to come down with a chair. Then JD McDonagh was out there. Everybody came down. Eventually, Jey Uso popped out of nowhere and took out Balor, Mysterio, and JD McDonagh and chased them all back to the back with a chair, which was kind of funny because you're like, all 3 of you get to run from Jey with a chair. I don't know about all that one. But anyways, eventually Cody goes for the Crossroads. Priest box. Cody goes up top, hits that beautiful Cody cutter. And then from there, he hits 3 Crossroads consecutively to get the 3 count. This was an 11-minute match. This actually felt a little longer than that, but it was a beautiful match. It told a great story. Cody kept trying to come up. Damian Priest kept thinking he had him down, and Cody just kept coming back. Cody kept coming back. Damian Priest taking a clean pin. It's not the end of the world. I think he'll be okay. Of course, now he doesn't have his money in the briefcase physically, so we don't know what that's going to do. But Cody can't lose. I mean, that's just the story we know we're in the middle of and how that's going to play out. Cody can't lose. Mr. Clarke,
we knew this was pretty much busy work for Cody, just to get to the next pay-per-view or get to the next, story beat, if you will. You expect it to be, pretty decent because it's Cody. Damian Priest, they're still trying to elevate here and there. As the Money in the Bank briefcase winner, I wish he wasn't taking as many losses as he has. But by the same token, it's the other side of that argument is he's a unified tag team champion. So where you land on that, on how you feel about him, I guess is more an individual experience. I personally just wish he wasn't taking quite as many losses, but he definitely was going to lose tonight.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, he was definitely going down tonight. We knew Cody was going to win. I didn't know how exactly they were going to play this out, but him taking a clean pin, I don't think it's the end. He can bounce back, but I also think it helps, and possibly this the Judgment Day didn't save him, and he lost, so he can feel a little more disgruntled because we know Damian Priest. As much as Drew McIntyre is starting this slow heel turn, Damian Priest is starting this rebel against the Judgment Day, and slowly feeling like he's going to go face sooner than later. We thank everybody for being here in the chat. This is your Value of Wrestling Crown Jewel review. We are talking about every match that's come down to the card. So far, we've pretty much been on point. We've agreed on most things. We've had some differences here, but that is life. But we do appreciate you all for being here. Make sure you hit that like button if you're in here, and share this out if you to all your friends and family so they can join in and watch along too. You're always welcome to drop your opinion in the comments below. And we are here. We are at the main event. The main event had a lot of speculation. Everybody thinking LA Knight was going to get the win. Everybody thought LA Knight was walking out as the new Universal WWE Champion. But I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It didn't happen. We had a good, solid match for the two of them. I don't think it was one of the better matches for either of them. But we had a good, solid match. A lot of back and forth. The decent story told here. Eventually, Solo Sikoa came down on the ring ramp, caused a distraction. Jey Uso tried to get involved. Eventually, we got the blunt force trauma. It almost looked like Knight was going to win, but then Jimmy put Roman Reigns' foot on the rope, and it was stopped. Knight went outside and started messing with Jimmy, which to me is just dumb. But I guess that's the trap that babyfaces fall into. There was a great moment there where he did get hold of Jimmy and bounce Jimmy's head off the announce table, and then Roman tried to come over. And he took Roman's head, bounced Roman's head off the announce table. Eventually, he was tied up with Jimmy, which wound up. He dropped Jimmy through the announce table, and he turned around into the ring announcer barricade area where he got hit with a spear by Roman. Roman then threw him in the ring, hit him with another spear. This match lasted 20 minutes, 2 seconds. This is a 4.5-star match. It was a good match. I don't know if it was the best match, but for them, it did what it needed to do. Roman Reigns gets the win. He retains the title. It's what we expected. LA Knight took a clean loss. Yes, there was interference. Could he say that he didn't really lose without interference? I don't know, because Roman hit that spear in the ring. So, was there interference? Yes, but I don't know if it's clean enough to say he didn't lose this match. But Roman versus LA Knight is what you thought it would be. LA Knight definitely looked good coming out of it. I don't know if I agree with 4 stars in this match, but it was a decent match. I enjoyed it. And we got what we expected in the end. Roman still coming out the winner. And to a course of booze. The one thing I do have to say about tonight was the crowd was lively. It was fun. As Saudi Arabia gets into these matches, they get into their chance. They have a lot of fun doing what they do. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts?
No, besides being busy work for Roman, just to continue the storyline and continue with title reign, I almost wonder if the point was this was almost felt like LA Knight's audition. Like, what would he look like in the main event match?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, did you enjoy the match or not? It's kind of almost did they tell a good enough story together?
Yeah.
Even though you already knew what the outcome was going to be.
No. And, LA Knight losing, I don't think it hurts him, but I definitely see that this is kind of his moment in the sun. Could we see what he's going to look like going forward? So it depends on what's going to go on from here. But LA Knight definitely shows that he belongs on that stage. He definitely belongs in the dance. He definitely belongs in that conversation. I think that, the story being that it's going to Cody, and we know that's the story. If you're paying attention, it's written all over the walls. Cody's going to win this title. I would at least thought they'd maybe give LA Knight an out here to come back later and have a chance at something, or even when Cody won, that he'd still have a chance to say, hey, I never lost to Roman. I never got beat clean by Roman. Of course, you could say, well, all the interference stopped it from happening. But we'll have to wait and see. Overall thoughts on the show tonight?
I enjoyed the pay-per-view overall. Premium live event. Overall. Then again, it might be argued that as long as you have, good to decent in ring action, I'm probably gonna like it anyways. Looking at some of the other companies I like. But I enjoyed it.
I thought it was a decent show overall. Everything there was good. There was highs. There were some spots where it was just kind of boring. I don't know if the Grayson Waller or Miz thing was necessary, but they got a local celebrity, so I think a lot of that for us in the States or anywhere else where we don't know who this person is, we miss it. We miss whatever is the thing that makes it exciting. I mean, the fans there, the fans there were excited, so that meant a lot. So I know they hit whatever they wanted with that, but I know it for a lot of other people because we didn't know who this guy was. But they brought in a celebrity. What did you think of Rhea Ripley's entrance? I know a lot of people are crapping on it.
Why? I thought it was great. I didn't really understand the point exactly, but having each of these guys kind of come out almost like they were not druids, but you know what I'm saying? As they had, I don't know. I thought it was cool.
A lot of people couldn't understand it.
Building up to her music and building up, to her, general ring entrance. I mean, this is not something she does, every day. So just something a little bit different that I thought was kind of cool.
I do get when it's confusing because we can't quite understand it. And if you know anything about that, see, like the Coliseum or Riyadh, like there's a group of, like in Saudi Arabia, there's a group called the Religious Police that makes sure religious standards are met in the country. So a lot of these events are out in the desert or far away from things where the religious police aren't in. Like the religious police control the city. So an element like this where you have men coming out in full, that's kind of their gala. In the cups, I don't know, they're very religious in some aspects, but they're very much adapting and changing their ways. But having the men come out, knowing the culture kind of over there and kind of holding cups up for a female, I think it's tremendous in a way because it's kind of shows that they're kind of changing their ways, and if they can do that and respect, I mean, look at the beginning. Our first Crown Jewel, or our first couple, I don't know how many it was before women got to wrestle, but there was no women on the show because they were just not allowed to be over there, and now they've eventually gone, okay, and this time we had 2 women's matches on the card. So, I mean, they're adapting and changing, but to have these men come out and kind of hold up these ceremonial cups, there was some type of ceremony to that, whether we caught it or not, or what it might have been, or the symbolism. I don't know if I necessarily got, but I just kind of was impressed that these men in their gallop-ups, the way they're dressed, it had to mean something, and it was pretty impressive to see that they were willing to do that and kind of embrace a female, which normally in their culture is not something it's not always their way, but they are definitely changing ways and becoming more, I don't know the word that is actually
progressive.
Yeah, I guess that's what you can say. Yeah, showing the growth of their country, Miguel. I think that is what we're seeing, and we'll have to see it, and I appreciate it. But I know a lot of people out there were crapping on it. Just they were not happy with it. They didn't, and it may have been people didn't understand it. Because to us, I mean, it was great. The look of it was great. Did I understand what they were doing? Not necessarily. Like I don't know. I know enough to know a little bit that there was something there, and it was impressive in its stint that you had men out there, in their gala. So I can get where people may not understood it and why they didn't like it in that sense. But overall, a good show. It is your Saudi show. Saudi's kind of at their overseas WrestleMania. So
yeah, that's fair.
And so
they're
today
trying to put more importance to it compared to the first shows. Like that's why it's actually what's the word I'm looking for? Canon.
Yeah.
These shows are now canon as opposed to when it first started. Like they were completely separate. Now it's like okay, now it's all canon to the rest of the year, if you will.
So my other question now is we got announced tonight that WWE Experience is going to be in Saudi Arabia in January of 2024 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It sounds like it's going to be a big experience, autograph sessions, other things going on. I don't know if this is kind of like the stuff they put on before WrestleMania, but I'm interested in what this is, and this is going to be. I guess it's in a physical building there in Riyadh, but I'm like, is it permanently there? Is this something that's going to go on the road and travel around from time to time? Are they just starting in Riyadh, or is this something they're actually building like a WWE quote unquote like experience or a museum? From what I'm gathering, possibly is this going to be a permanent structure in Riyadh, and our wrestling fans going to have to go to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to go tour this thing, which is kind of weird to me because I'm like, that's great, but why are you going to make us all over here who die our fans go all the way over there? But it was interesting. The wrestling experience, the WWE experience, is going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia starting in January 2024. They showed some of the stuff that may be in there, what they made it look like. I don't know if this is like the fan access just kind of on steroids. Oh, wait, we shouldn't probably say WWE and steroids in a way. But anyways, And we got Will Ospreay just sharing a WWE post on Twitter of Rollins retaining his title. Ospreay and Rollins, you can take my money if we get that match. I will gladly give up my money. I will go wherever they decide to put. That'd be one match I'd want to see in person. Will Ospreay versus Seth Rollins. Yeah. Does it mean anything? I don't know. His talk to me though tells me I just feel that man's going to show up in TNA. If you've heard a lot of the recent chatter that's coming out about Will Ospreay, he is hyping TNA. So.
Whether he actually goes or not, he definitely wishes them well. Whether he winds up in TNA or not, he definitely wishes them well. I was just last night watching Simon Miller of What Culture interview Scott D'Amore, and they talked about Will Ospreay and where he might go, where he might not go. He was talking about where even if he doesn't end up in TNA, if he winds up somewhere else, he still is cheering them on.
Yeah. No.
And of course, Ospreay is not going to tell you where he's going until he makes his decision.
Speaking of speaking of Simon Miller, he made his TNA debut, and then Joe Henry made a music video about him, which was hilarious. So, yay! Good stuff going on down there. TNA has got something, and it's going to be magical. If they get Will Ospreay, it's magical. But this is Crown Jewel. So the WWE experience in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I don't know. What did you think about the advertisement?
They kind of answer a question you sort of asked and yet not asked at the same time. Why would they have, if they had it permanent there, they're trying to make it a destination place as it is. Yeah. So to have a permanent museum, for lack of a better term, would not surprise me.
Well, and Vince McMahon has came out and said Saudi Arabia is WWE's new home. So I don't know what this means. I don't know how he can proclaim it's a new home when they just built a new headquarter office just down the road, and they're still in Connecticut. They're still in Hartford. They just built a new headquarters, and they've got this deal with TKO. And I'm just like, I don't know what this is our new home. I don't know if it's Vince McMahon's new home or what, but it'll be interesting.
It's Vince talking. You have to take it with a grain of salt sometimes, and just watch it for what it is, and we'll all eventually get it one way or another.
Well, if they open a museum there, that'll be nice. Hopefully they do something. I am hoping it becomes a traveling thing, that every year maybe they move this around, and it's just going to be in Saudi Arabia, because I guess because I've traveled that far and I know what it takes to travel that far. It's a lengthy trip and it takes a lot, and to go through a museum of something like, it would be one of the museums in the world that I would want to go to. It would be one of those things, so I want to fly that far to plane again. Because if you've ever flown 14, 16, 18 hours on a plane, and I don't know when the last time you've done that. I know you've flown overseas before, but I don't know if it's that same distance.
8 years old. Well, between California and Indonesia.
Yeah. No, I know you said you've been over there a couple times in your life, so I didn't know if you remembered how long that flight was. I vastly remember 15, 16
hours. I was
asleep
most of the time. That's what I remember.
So that's the hard part. You just flying on a plane all the way over there, and then
but there are enough people, globally speaking, that would make that trip.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's why it's like it wouldn't surprise me.
No, because I think there was people at this show that were not from Saudi Arabia, because there looked like there's people at times that were from different countries that had flown in. So that's good and dandy. So, anywho, overall good show, solid show. We got a great show. It was what it was. We got through another great Crown Jewel, and now we're going to build the rest of the way into Survivor Series. And we got told for sure 100% there is no more questions about it. We are getting Survivor Series. We are getting War Games. And I don't know if we're getting 4-on-4 in the traditional 8 War Games match, or if we're getting 5-on-5, because in that process, Corey Graves said 10 competitors. So I don't know if that was a typo error, but they've been very much hinting, it seems like, going into War Games, that it's going to be 5-on-5. So I don't know what that means as 5-on-5, because you have JD McDonagh, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Damian Priest as 4. So where's the 5th in that group unless you get Drew McIntyre tied up into that? So could it be Cody, Jay, Sami, Seth, and Kevin against Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre? Is that the direction we're possibly heading in?
Possible. The question I have is, when does I almost calling him by his WCW name, William Regal's can't appear on WWE TV, thing? When is that thing over? Give me one thing. Give me William Regal coming on to say War Games.
No, I don't know. And I think William Regal's working more down in NXT and the Performance Center with his son. I think he's working more closely with his son than anything.
I'm just looking for one TV appearance. One.
I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna get it. Hey, of course, if Finley's son or if Regal's son's there and Finley's son's there, are they gonna rehash? I mean, maybe you can get them in each other's son's corner to rehash the old rivalry there. And we're not talking about David Finley. We're talking about Brogan Finley.
Yeah.
So just so people know, there's more than one Finley out there in the world of wrestling. But if Brogan Finley turns out anything like his brother David Finley, oh boy.
Might have something there.
Yeah, well, what I've heard about David Finley, David Finley is pretty impressive. I guess he's really taken up the reins after the Switchblade left and holding down the camp that they call Bullet Club. Of course, our New Japan Pro Wrestling expert should be breaking more down on Dave Finley there, so maybe that's what he'll have to reach into his bag of tricks and tell us all about. Anyways, it looks like we got 58 viewers today. That is awesome. We thank you for each and every one of you for reviewing. Make sure you hit that like button. We want to get those likes up as high as we can. Every like helps us get out there in the algorithm. And we appreciate you for joining us. We appreciate you for taking your time out of the day to join us after a wonderful pay-per-view. Make sure if you're new here that you hit that subscribe button. Every subscription counts. We are marching forward. We are growing quickly, fastly, and you want to get in on the ground floor and become part of the Value Wrestling family. And you can quickly do that by simply subscribing today. Make sure you like, share this all out. And, of course, we're going to be back later tonight with Collision. Me and Mr. Clarke will be right here reviewing tonight's Collision show. It looks like card. I don't know if I'm excited about it. I know some people are a little more excited about it. I know Mr. Clarke here said on paper it sounds like a great card, but the way most of these people have been booked, to somebody who doesn't know these names, it's they announced Mark Briscoe is going to be on the show, and I'm like, okay. Like, I know a little bit about the Briscoe boys. I know they're good. They were good as a tag team. Unfortunate events, life happens, and now Mark's kind of on his own and trying to find his place, but it doesn't feel like they use, like, you would think after that they would use him to make him feel something special, but now that's just like they use him to show up, and we're all supposed to be excited, but I know, like, some people like you get excited because it's Mark Briscoe, and you base it on his past. I'm just kind of like, okay.
And
cool. And again, this is the Value of Wrestling. We all have our rights to our opinion. We totally understand. If you don't agree with what we say or how we feel, that's fine. You're always allowed to drop your opinions and stuff in the comments. And in life, sometimes we have to just learn to agree to disagree, and that's okay. We just ask you to be respectful in the comments below. If you have an opinion that's different, just do it in a respectful way. So,
you mean you don't want to fight about the 5 women's match that we had earlier?
I mean, if you want to get into a discussion and discuss it back and forth, we can have a civilized debate, but we don't need to get mean.
I did not say a civilized debate. I said a fight.
You want to get in a fight? You want to take this outside? You want to get into a Donnybrook? I know. He wants a Donnybrook because it's his favorite type of match. He likes a good Donnybrook. I'll go get this shillelagh. We can go fight this out in the pub. Hey, we can meet in the middle when we down in like Las Vegas and, we'll get it on, man. You know what I mean?
Betting odds and everything, huh?
You want to fight over a women's match? I don't know what to tell you. It was. I don't think it was that. It was kind of slow and but it is 5 women, so I give it a little more because I know it's not going to be the prettiest of match. It's kind of a train wreck that you're just trying to hope that Rhea Ripley comes out on top and that we're not going to get a screw job, because when you get 5 women in for a title match, you're always like, how could this be possibly screwy? But thank God Vince McMahon's not behind creative or the one that we won't speak of would walk out as champion there. So,
but because mommy's always on top, we got what we got.
That's what she tells Dom and Buddy. I just don't know which one's more happy about it. You know. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being here. And like I always say, we will be back later tonight. But like I always say, until the next episode, it's time for us to get out of here. And it's time for us to say, you know it. As soon as this, okay, the mouse, I hate when my mouse freezes. It just goes, I'm going to sit here and do nothing. But we're going to get out of here. Call it a day. We'll be back later tonight after Collision.